Hi everyone, and welcome to your very own deep dive. We are diving deep into Surah Fussilat from the Quran.
Oh, the one that means...
Yes, it means detailed.
Detailed.
And it really lives up to its name. Have you ever felt like, you're trying to understand something important, but it's like there's like a screen or something blocking you from really getting it? Fussilat, it addresses that, but in a way you might not expect. We're not doing like a full-on religious study, but we are going to look at how this text uses imagery, warnings, and some timeless wisdom.
I love that.
To communicate its message. What do you think? The name itself, detailed, it kind of sets the stage, doesn't it?
It really does. Like it's saying, hey, get ready for something intricate.
Exactly. And you pick up on that right from the start. Like verse 3 says, this is a Quran in Arabic for people who know. What do you think it means to truly know something, especially in this context? Is it about the language, or is there something deeper going on?
Well, it definitely makes you wonder if there's something special about the Arabics that maybe you don't quite get in translation.
Right.
But I think it also makes you think about what it means to know anything deeply. Is it just about facts, or is there an experience involved too?
Can you know something just by reading about it?
Exactly.
But okay, before we go too far down that path, Surah Fussilat takes us in a different direction in verse 6.
Okay.
It says, the speaker is human, but divinely inspired. This idea of mixing the human and the divine.
Right.
I find that really interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think it makes the message, I don't know, maybe a little more relatable?
I think it definitely grabs your attention. When you think about messengers or authority figures, there's often this distance.
Yeah, totally.
But by saying, hey, I'm human too, it creates a connection, You feel like you can relate.
It's like saying, hey, I'm just a person, but listen to what I've been shown. It makes you want to listen, right? And then in verses 7 and 8, it gets pretty serious.
Yeah.
There's a definite line drawn. Reject the message, face the consequences, believe and do good, and you get reward uninterrupted.
That phrase, reward uninterrupted.
What do you make of that?
It really sticks with you.
Yeah.
Makes you think about more than just doing good things to get a reward.
Right.
Feels deeper, like maybe a state of being where you're always fulfilled.
That makes you wonder what real spiritual satisfaction would look like.
It does, yeah.
And then from this talk about consequences, the text goes on to describe creation itself.
Oh, wow.
In verses 9 through 12,
Okay.
it starts with the earth, created in 2 days, and then it describes all the things that stabilize it, the provisions, and then suddenly the sky appears, formed from smoke, and then 7 universes.
I love that image.
It's so vivid, very different from other creation stories.
It is.
What stands out to you about the language here?
Well, the way it goes from talking about Earth being created, all detailed and methodical, to this image of the sky emerging from smoke.
Right.
It's dramatic. You can practically feel the power.
You can, yeah. I can almost feel the heat.
It's like a reminder of how vast creation is.
It's like, whoa.
And the force behind it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then it's almost like an afterthought. It casually mentions that the universe is decorated with lamps, for our benefit.
It's interesting.
Do you think that, lessens the grandeur? Or is there another message there?
I think it shows how the divine can be both incredibly powerful and super detailed.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's as if it's saying, this creation is amazing, but it's also for you. Don't forget that.
Appreciate it.
Exactly.
There's a sense of purpose, isn't there?
Totally.
Every detail has been carefully planned out.
It's like a giant cosmic tapestry.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Everything perfectly in place.
Right.
But even with all this power and order, the Surah shifts gears and introduces us to the stories of Ad and Thamud. It's like, okay, creation is perfect, but humans, we have a way of messing things up.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
We do.
Verses 13 to 18 are all about warnings from past civilizations. Civilizations that faced consequences for their arrogance and their rejection of Allah.
I see.
Can you tell me more about these civilizations? Who were Ad and Thamud, and how did they end up being destroyed?
Well, Ad were known for their incredible strength, their architecture.
Oh, right, yeah.
They built these towering buildings. They had so much wealth.
They got a little too big for their britches.
Yeah, but they forgot their creator. They thought they were invincible, and that was their downfall.
And Thamud, they were the ones who carved their homes and temples right out of the mountains, weren't they?
That's right. They were masters of manipulating the physical world, but they fell into the same trap.
Okay.
They rejected the prophets who were sent to guide them, believing their skills and accomplishments were all their own.
So, both civilizations, they achieved amazing things.
They did.
But their success ultimately led to their destruction. It makes you wonder, knowing how it all ended for them,
Right.
what do they represent to us? Are there any parallels between their mistakes and the challenges we face today?
That is a great question.
I mean, it makes you think about how we define success today.
Yeah.
Are we so focused on material achievements that we lose sight of our connection to something bigger? Do we prioritize individual accomplishment over, the well-being of everyone?
Yeah.
Are we ignoring the lessons of history?
It's like they're holding up a mirror to us.
Wow, that's powerful.
It's a serious reminder that even great civilizations can fall apart if they lose sight of what truly matters.
It really is. And this whole idea of facing consequences for our actions, it takes us to the next powerful section in Surah Fussilat, where we're taken right to Judgment Day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's amazing how those stories that make you stop and think about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But when we talk about consequences, judgment.
There's a section in verses 19 through 23
Okay.
that always gets me. Surah Fussilat, it describes this really intense scene of Judgment Day.
Intense, how so?
Well, it's not just about your deeds, it's like your senses, your hearing, sight, even your skin. They all testify about how you lived your life.
Wow, that's a powerful image.
Right. It's saying even if you hide from the world, you can never really hide from yourself. Your body, it becomes like a record of everything you did, your choices, your actions.
They look at that idea of a conscience, right?
Exactly. But here, it's not just a voice, it's your whole being bearing witness. It's pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, it is.
But then the surah kind of shifts gears.
Okay.
It focuses on something we all struggle with, just being human.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Right. Verses 49 through 51, they describe this cycle that we all go through.
A cycle.
Yeah, like we pray for good things and then we freak out when things get rough.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
We take credit for success, but then the second we need help, we're right back to praying.
Exactly. It's like we forget to be grateful when things are good.
And we only remember how to pray when we're desperate.
Right. What do you think this passage is saying about, how we should be dealing with these ups and downs in life?
Well, I don't think it's about being perfectly faithful all the time. I think it's more about recognizing that we're going to have those ups and downs.
Yeah.
Faith, it's not just a steady state, it's a journey.
Like a path with twists and turns.
Exactly. It's the effort to connect with something bigger no matter what's happening around you.
So it's not about beating yourself up if you feel lost or doubtful.
No, not at all.
It's more about remembering to come back to that source of strength.
Whatever that may be for you.
Yeah. But the surah, it doesn't sugarcoat things.
It doesn't.
No. It's pretty blunt.
Like where?
Well, like in verse 40, it says, those who despise our revelations are not hidden from us. Do as you please. He is seeing of everything you do.
That last part, he is seeing of everything you do.
It's kind of intense.
It makes you think.
Yeah.
It's saying we have free will. We can choose.
Right.
But our choices, they have consequences.
It's not just about punishment or reward, is it?
No, it's about who we become.
It's like, okay, you can do what you want, but choose carefully.
Right. Choose wisely.
It makes you think twice
About
every decision, big or small.
Yeah.
Like, am I acting out of fear or am I trying to be better,
It's about being intentional, knowing you're always being observed.
Not in a creepy way.
No.
But just as a fact of life.
It's a reminder to live with awareness.
And that's where the advice in Surah Fussilat comes in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, if my choices matter, if I'm always being watched.
Then how do I live a good life?
Yes. It's like a guidebook for dealing with temptation, speaking truthfully.
I love that.
It's a manual for handling all those tough parts of life.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
There's a verse that always stands out to me.
Which one?
Verse 33. It says, "And who is better in speech than one who calls to Allah and acts with integrity and says, I am of those who submit."
Wow.
It's not just about what you say.
Right, it's about what you do.
Exactly. It's about living what you believe.
You can talk the talk.
But you got to walk the walk.
That's it. It's about being genuine.
Absolutely.
And that leads right into the next verse about dealing with conflict, negativity.
Oh, yeah.
Verse 34 says, good and evil are not equal. Repel evil with good, and the person who was your enemy becomes like an intimate friend.
That's a beautiful idea.
Right. But it's hard.
It is, yeah.
It's about responding to negativity with, understanding.
About passion.
Yeah, instead of just fighting back with more negativity.
It's about breaking that cycle of anger.
But isn't it hard sometimes? sometimes you feel angry for a reason.
Of course you do. We're human.
Right.
But this verse is encouraging us to try something different.
To try to understand the other person.
Yeah, to recognize that we're all connected.
If we hurt others,
we ultimately hurt ourselves.
But if we choose kindness, even when it's tough,
then we create something positive.
It's about choosing the higher path.
Exactly.
Even when it feels impossible.
And the surah knows it's not always easy. Verse 35 reminds us, none will attain it except those who persevere, and none will attain it except to the very fortunate.
So it's not about being perfect.
No.
It's about trying your best, even when you mess up.
And knowing you might need a little help along the way.
Yeah, it's a journey.
It is not a destination.
And speaking of journeys, I think this is a good place to pause for a moment.
Okay.
When we come back,
Yeah.
we'll dive into the last part of Surah Fussilat.
Oh, I can't wait.
And we'll see how it can help us navigate the craziness of the world today.
Sounds good.
We're back. And wow, this deep dive into Surah Fussilat, it's been quite a journey.
It really has.
From creation to Judgment Day to just figuring out how to be human, it's packed with so much to think about.
It is.
And we're not done yet.
There's still more.
Yeah. There's this part, verses 44 through 46.
Okay.
It talks about the challenges of understanding the Quran, especially for those who don't speak Arabic.
I see. Yeah.
Like verse 44 mentions those who might say, if only it was made clearer.
Right.
It's like, the surah knows that not everyone will understand it easily.
Even if they really want to.
Exactly.
It's interesting.
It makes me think about the importance of finding good teachers, you know?
People who really understand the language and the teachings.
Yeah, people who can guide you.
It's not about shutting down questions.
Right.
It's about encouraging people to really dive into the text.
Even if it's difficult.
Exactly.
It's like an invitation, come on, let's figure this out together.
Yeah.
And this whole idea of effort, personal responsibility, it comes up again in verse 46.
Okay.
It says, whoever acts righteously does so for himself, and whoever works evil does so against himself. Your Lord is not unjust to the servants. What do you think about that?
I think it's saying that real goodness comes from within. It's about doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Not because someone's watching you.
Exactly. You reap what you sow, not just in terms of rewards and punishments,
Right.
but in who you become as a person,
It's like we're ultimately accountable to ourselves.
to our own sense of right and wrong,
You can't fool yourself.
even if you can fool other people.
And this brings us back to that idea of judgment, which is so central to Surah Fussilat.
Yeah.
It's a reminder to live a life that you can be proud of.
A life that reflects what you truly believe.
The surah, it's not afraid to talk about these big, serious things.
No, it isn't.
It tells us straight up, our actions have consequences.
There's a day of reckoning coming.
When everything will be revealed.
It's not meant to scare you, though.
Right.
It's meant to encourage you to live consciously,
To make good choices.
to be the best version of yourself.
And to seek guidance when you need it. Right.
it.
Because none of us can do this alone.
That's so true.
The surah keeps saying that Allah is seeing of everything you do.
Yeah.
And it's not about being spied on.
No.
It's more about knowing that we're connected to something bigger than ourselves.
Beautifully said.
And that's where the last verses of Surah Fussilat, they offer so much comfort.
Oh, how so?
Well, from verses 47 to 54,
Yeah.
they talk about the power of Allah, his infinite knowledge, his control over everything.
That's powerful.
It is. It's a call to humility.
To recognize that we're just a small part of something much bigger.
That we can't even begin to understand.
And that surrendering to that mystery
To that higher power.
can bring peace.
And a sense of purpose.
Yes, exactly.
It's about finding that balance, knowing we have free will, but also recognizing our place in the universe.
And I think that's the biggest takeaway from Surah Fussilat,
What is it?
that we need to surrender to something greater than ourselves.
To find meaning in something we may never fully understand.
To live our lives with intention, knowing that our choices affect everything around us.
So well said. And with that, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into Surah Fussilat.
Wow, that went by fast.
It did. It's been such a fascinating journey, and thank you for joining us and for sharing your insights.
My pleasure.
As we wrap up, I want to leave everyone with a final thought.
Okay.
The surah reminds us over and over that Allah is seeing of everything you do.
Yeah.
Don't think of it as a threat. Think of it as a reminder to be present, to be mindful.
To make choices that matter.
Because your choices do matter.
They do.
Your actions have consequences, and you are connected to something much greater than yourself.
Remember that. You are seen, you are loved, and your life has meaning.
What a powerful message. And on that note, we'll say goodbye for now.
See you next time.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.